All right, welcome. Today, we're going to step into the boots of someone with one of the most important jobs underground. We're not just going to learn about mine safety. Oh, no. You are going to become a mine safety inspector. So, you ready to take the quiz and earn that hard hat? Let's do it.
Okay, just imagine it. This is your very first day on the job. Your mission? Make sure that every single person who goes deep into that mine comes back up safely. To do that, to really be a great mine safety inspector, you have to know all the risks, inside and out. Your training, well, it starts right now. So, for our first training module, we're talking about the invisible dangers. Deep underground, the biggest threats aren't always what you think, like collapses. A lot of the time, it's the tiny particles just floating in the air that miners are breathing. Let's take a closer look at these health risks. Okay, question number 1. What in the world is pneumoconiosis? Now, it's more than just a really long, complicated word. It's a condition that has affected miners for generations, and understanding it is absolutely step 1 for any good inspector. Go ahead and take a second on this one. It's a term that's really defined mining health for a long, long time. It's a direct result of working with the earth itself.
So did you get it? It's a lung disease, and it's caused by breathing in mineral dust. I mean, just picture your lungs slowly being damaged by thousands of tiny, sharp particles. That's why air quality in a mine, it's not a luxury, it is a lifeline. If you knew that, awesome. You're on the right track.
All right, let's get a little more specific now. One of the most common kinds of mineral dust actually comes from quartz rock, which has something called silica in it. And that brings us to our next question. What is silicosis and what makes it so dangerous? Think about the chain reaction here. It's not usually just one disease. It often acts like a gateway, It makes the body vulnerable to all sorts of other really serious problems. So, silicosis is a type of pneumoconiosis caused specifically by that silica dust. But here's the kicker. The danger doesn't end there. It really weakens the lungs, which makes a person way more likely to get other terrible diseases like tuberculosis and even lung cancer. This is exactly why dust control is so critical.
Okay, so you've got a pretty good handle on the risks in the air. For our second module, we're zooming out from the microscopic stuff to the bigger picture, the immediate physical dangers you'd find in the mine itself.
Let's get real specific. Imagine you're going down, way down, into one of the deepest gold mines on the planet. We're talking miles below the surface. What are the 2 biggest environmental challenges you'd have to deal with?
I mean, just think about the physics of being that deep underground. All that pressure, the heat coming from the Earth's core, what would that actually feel like? If you were thinking about the heat and the bad air, you are absolutely correct. We're talking about some serious heat. Temperatures can hit 50 degrees Celsius, which is a scorching 122 Fahrenheit. And on top of that, you've got all the dust we've talked about. Plus, an inspector always has to be on the lookout for toxic gases that can seep right out of the rock. It is a seriously extreme environment.
So finding the problems, that's half the battle for an inspector. But knowing the solutions, that's the other half. So our third module is all about the cool engineering and the equipment that makes working in these conditions even possible.
We've already established the air can be hot, dusty, and even toxic. So the number 1 solution is ventilation. But what's its real purpose? What does a big, modern mine ventilation system actually do?
It might sound simple, right? Just, move air around. But the scale of this whole operation is just massive. We're talking about huge fans and miles of tunnels just for air.
Right, it's a super important 2-part job. A ventilation system is basically like a giant pair of lungs for the entire mine. It breathes in fresh, cool air from up on the surface, and at the same time, it breathes out all the hot, dirty air from down below. It is a huge, huge engineering feat. So beyond the big systems for the whole mine, safety really comes down to the individual miner. What are 2 key safety measures, 2 key pieces of gear that miners depend on to stay safe every single day? What are the absolute must-haves, the things a miner puts on before every single shift to protect themselves from both immediate danger and long-term harm?
Okay, the most vital pieces of gear are things like oxygen masks or respirators to protect their lungs, and of course, a hard hat with a headlamp for protection and to see where you're going. These things are non negotiable. And hey, while it's not personal gear, a good inspector always checks the roof supports, because that's the one thing keeping the whole tunnel from caving in. So you've seen the risks and you've seen the solutions. For your final inspection, we're going to focus on your role in all this. It's time to put all this knowledge together and really understand the job of an inspector. And here we go, the final question. What is the fundamental role of a mine safety inspector? To put it simply, why does your job even exist?
This is the big why. Why is this role so critical that it's often required by law? What unique job do they do in the whole system?
And that's the heart of it, right there. An inspector is the guardian of the rules. Their whole job is to be that independent set of eyes, visiting mines to make absolutely sure that every single safety rule we've talked about is being followed, no exceptions. And with that, you've done it. You've completed the course. You've identified the dangers. You've mastered the safety solutions. Congratulations, Inspector. You have officially passed your training. You know, the biggest takeaway from all of this is pretty simple. In the world of mining, safety isn't just some rule in a book. It's the most important job of all. It's the foundation that the entire industry has to be built on.
And that kind of leaves us with one last thought. We focused on mining today, but this role is essential in so many other industries. So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. What other jobs out there rely on dedicated safety inspectors to keep their workers safe? Thanks for joining me.